In this video, I kind of just want to talk about a mistake that I made while fishing today. And I think that it is something that can help a lot of us anglers, especially as we approach water that maybe we have fished in the past. Maybe you're fishing an area that you've caught them in the past. I made a mistake today, and I think that this can help you when it comes to that. Now, before we get into the video, this one's brought to you by my apparel company, Fin Fishing. Right now for the month of October 2024, I am running a package deal on the website. You can get a USA made sun shirt and a bass hat with a wooden bass badge for $67, opposed to $84. So you actually save quite a bit of money. It's real easy to do. Just add the sun shirt to cart, add the hat to cart. It will automatically discount at checkout. Shopping at Fin Fishing, it's truly the best way to help support this channel, and I greatly appreciate all of you who have done so. All right, I want to talk about this mistake because I do think it can help you guys. Now, today I had like 2 hours to go out and try to shoot a video for BassFishingHQ, my other channel. And I've kind of been waiting for conditions to set up right on a local lake here to be able to shoot this video. And really, what I really wanted to do was go out and fish a spinnerbait. And typically every fall on this particular lake, as the water starts to cool off and we start to get a little bit more rain, there's some areas of this lake that will get muddy. And you can typically go up into those areas, you can take a spinnerbait and you can catch fish on a spinnerbait around, a lot of times, wood laydowns, stumps, different stick ups, mostly just around wood. And so today, I figured we'd kind of had a couple of weeks of a cooling trend here where I live, and I got to the lake and I went to some of these creek arms that I fished in the past, and I got up into them and I just started fishing and everything was setting up perfect. Like the water was muddy, but it wasn't like too muddy. It wasn't silty. I'm like, this is very fishable water. Also, as soon as I got in there, bait galore. Tons of shad up in these creeks. And those were really the two components that I wanted to see. So I picked up my spinnerbait and I started fishing my spinnerbait. Now, I fished around one kind of major creek arm that has been really good to me in the past and nothing. And I fished into another kind of little creek arm and again, nothing. And then I fished in another creek arm and again, nothing. No bites, no nothing. And I just really didn't understand it because there was a lot of bait in the area. Everything was just, to me, setting up perfect that I'm like, I do not know why I'm not getting bit. So I wasted about an hour and a half of my little 2-hour session out there, basically not catching anything. And so I went into my fourth little creek, and basically I'm like, I'm gonna fish this real quick and then I'm done. I gotta go, I gotta scrap the day. I'm not gonna be able to film a video. And so I go into this little creek arm and there's a little secondary pocket off this creek. And as I go into this secondary pocket, I look across and there's a laydown, like any other laydown that I've been fishing, but I'm kind of set up perfectly and it's only like 50 feet away where I can make a long cast at this laydown and really fish the laydown out like all the way. And so I wing my bait over there and I'm creeping that spinnerbait down and all of a sudden, poo-poo, I set the hook. It's like a good one, a 315. It was a good fish and I'm like, huh. Maybe they are up in here. And so in that moment, the biggest thing that I realized is that throughout the entire first 3 creeks that I was fishing, I had been fishing that spinnerbait pretty shallow, in about the first foot or 2 foot of the water column. And with the water being fairly muddy, that is what I've done a lot in the past and have had a lot of success. Fishing it up in the water column. And even though you might be fishing a big laydown that extends out into 7, 8, 9, 10 foot of water, they're typically always in that first foot, pretty much where the laydown hits the shore when you're fishing in this muddy water. The biggest difference was that the last 2 nights here where I live, we've had some like 30-degree nights, like really cold nights in comparison to what we've had, like very cold. And it got me thinking that maybe these fish aren't shallow on these laydowns and they're actually a little bit deeper on the laydowns. And maybe I've been casting over these fish. Maybe I've actually been fishing it over them. And with it being kind of a cold front and muddy water, their strike zone is so so small that you really got to get that bait in front of them in order for them to hit it, like right in front of them. They're not going to shoot out and grab it. And so with that being said, I had like 20 more minutes in the day, and I started approaching these laydowns in a lot different manner, where I was casting up and I was really letting that bait get down there deep. In the last 20 minutes, I had one absolutely crush that thing. I set the hook and missed, and then I ended up catching another like decent keeper, not quite as big, but a really like a nice fish. And right then and there, I knew that I had made a mistake. I had been fishing all wrong, and it makes sense. Like everything, you know, hindsight is always 2020. And with these cold nights that we have been having, it makes sense that those fish just push down a little bit. And so I would have loved to have just stayed out there and fished in that way, even gone back through some of those same creeks that I had already fished and fished in that manner, where I'm really slowing that bait down and getting it down there deeper just to see what bites, but I didn't have enough time. But it just, to me, it's a good learning lesson, because there's a number of situations that I have approached in the past where I've caught them in areas and I have to figure something out a little bit different. Just like this. I've always gone there and caught them really shallow, but they were just positioned a little bit deeper today. There's been times where I fished up in the northern part of the country and I'm fishing on a big point for smallmouth, and I've caught them there on drop shots in the past. And I remember specifically going back to that same place, seeing a lot of fish and not being able to catch them on a drop shot, but then I figured out I could catch them on a spy bait. And there's been other times, for example, down in Florida, where I remember there's this little section on the Kissimmee chain that I always go to because it typically has a lot of matted vegetation. And I caught them there, really good flipping mats the year prior. The next year I go there, and it probably was just something that was happening on that day. But every one of the fish on the year prior crushed that thing as soon as it came through the mat. Like it hit through the mat, bam, they got it, you set the hook, you catch them. The following year when I was there, I had to pump that bait like 6 or 7 or 8 times to be able to get a fish to come up there and bite it. And it took me a while in that day of fishing, a couple of hours, to realize that I couldn't just flip in there, let it hit the bottom, yo-yo it once and bring it out, because that's what I like to do because you can cover so much water. I had to really soak that thing in there and really pump it. And it wasn't even like a cold front situation. I think it was just a pressure situation in that. So I think that it's very good to remember there are days where you go back to those areas where you caught them and fish are there, but you kind of have to put it out of your mind how you caught them in the past. And so anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it, and I will see you guys tomorrow.